Manchester United fans hoped for a statement.
I think we proved today that we can win any game in the Premier League, especially against a great team like Arsenal, and we were the better team. So
Instead, they got another humiliation. City didn't just win the derby, they dismantled United piece by piece. At the Etihad, it felt less like a contest and more like a lecture from Pep Guardiola to Ruben Amorim.
What is your message to those fans who are losing?
my message is that I'm going to give everything. I will do everything, always thinking about what is best for the club. That was always the same message. And then it's not my decision, the rest. So until I'm here, I will do my best I really want to win games, so I'm suffering more than them.
Guardiola hilariously punished every single adjustment Amorim tried. The Portuguese coach pressed higher with a fragile Manuel Ugarte, but against City's brutal rhythm, it looked like a bad joke.
I think the system is the system, and United fans will like it or they won't like it, but Amorim's not going to change. He's going to die in his own ditch if he's going to die in terms of losing.
In transition, in midfield control, even in defensive structure, United were brutally exposed. This wasn't a fight, it was a massacre.
We can criticise the system, but is he going to bring Luke Shaw out in the training pitch and tell him how to get down low and defend?
And at the centre of it all stood Erling Haaland. The Norwegian once again showed why he is football's ultimate weapon. 2 goals, total dominance, and history rewritten. 90 goals in just 101 games for City.
And I always thought, you could score 40 goals in the Premier League, you could score 45 goals in the Premier League. You're that good. And I always feel that about Haaland as well, and he does, and he scores so many goals. But I always think, you could do so much more. You could hold it up, you could ragdoll defenders, you could chase things down, you could defend it in your own box, you could win headers, you could do everything. Because you're that good a player. And today was that performance. He was
the player with the most goals in Manchester derbies, tying Aguero and Rooney, and the man who has scored the most goals ever against Manchester United.
Sergio Gomez. Haaland!
This isn't rivalry anymore, it's pure fatherhood. But Haaland wasn't alone. Gianluigi Donnarumma, on his City debut, produced 2 world-class saves to deny United. Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku tore through Amorim's defence with pace, chaos and confidence. Every touch from them felt like a dagger into United's backline.
Erling Haaland was the man of the match and he was exceptional, that's true. But for me there is a game changer in that team, and that's Doku today. Doku today gave 2 assists, and on the first goal, he took on 2 players, and it was exceptional.
Meanwhile, United's lack of quality screamed louder than ever. Every pass misplaced, every cross wasted, every defensive recovery too slow. The midfield looked broken, the attack toothless, and the backline hopeless. Against a City side that hasn't even been at its best this season, Amorim's men were destroyed. Guardiola didn't just beat him, he embarrassed him.
Man United getting embarrassed by City. Man United getting embarrassed by a rival. How many times have we said that over these last 5 years? I'm exhausted.
Both Manchester clubs arrived at the derby with questions to answer. City found theirs. United only deepened theirs. Pep Guardiola smiled. Ruben Amorim frowned. And the difference was written by 3 names: Haaland, Doku and Foden. Between them, they dismantled United and dragged City back to life after 2 straight league defeats. The Red Devils actually tried to take the initiative, but one faint and explosive burst from Jeremy Doku ripped their defence wide open. His cutback found Phil Foden, whose precise header across Bayindir made it 1-0 in the 18th minute.
It's Ugarte, this time!
6 minutes later, Doku carved them open again, forcing another desperate save, and United looked rattled. Any hope of a comeback vanished straight after half-time. A quick exchange saw Foden twist his marker, Doku extend the move, and Haaland finish with an ice-cold dink over Bayindir for 2-0 in the 53rd minute.
Doku, oh Haaland's onside!
At the other end, Gianluigi Donnarumma barely had work on his City debut, but when called, he delivered. He denied Sesko in a one-on-one and parried Mbeumo's volley with authority. Calm, commanding, decisive. Then came the killer blow. In the 68th minute, Bernardo Silva floated a ball into space. Haaland launched from deep, shrugged off the entire backline and buried a low drive past Bayindir for 3-0. a devastating goal that summed up the gulf in class. And it could have been worse. Haaland somehow missed the easiest goal of his life. The final 20 minutes turned into pure torment for United. Frustration, wasted chances from Casemiro and Dorgu, and a fan base that started walking out of the away end long before the final whistle. The Etihad, meanwhile, roared, standing ovations for Haaland, Doku, Bernardo, and the returning Rodri, who orchestrated midfield with ease before being subbed off. The 197th Manchester derby ended in familiar fashion. City on top, United humiliated. Ruben Amorim tried to dress Manchester United as a pressing side, brave and compact, but what he really did was expose the cracks of a system that is now painfully predictable.
The way you set up your team is just not working. It's not creating enough wins, and people are finding it easy to play against you.
Find it easy to play against, guys. You have an. You have. I understand that, and I accept. So it's not a record that you should have in Manchester United. There are a lot of things that you have no idea what happened during these months, but I accept that. But I'm not going to change. When I want to change my philosophy, I will change. If not, you have to change the man. So and we'll talk about that every game that we lose. I don't believe in that in the system or whatever. I play my way, and I'm going to play my will until I want to change.
His decision to start Ugarte in midfield looked like putting a plaster on an open wound. The Uruguayan ran, fought and jumped into tackles, but there was no way he could cover the huge gaps that open up week after week. Guardiola didn't just see them, he turned them into motorways. From the first whistle it was clear, Bruno Fernandes, allowed to play in the number 10 role again, switched off defensively. On City's opener he was ball watching, failing to track the runner, and that lapse gave Foden and Doku all the freedom they needed. Multiply that mistake across the midfield and United collapsed like a house of cards. Then came the big gamble. Casemiro on the bench, in a Manchester derby. Amorim seemed to believe experience and authority could be sacrificed, but the Brazilian looked on in disbelief as his teammates chased shadows. Baindia in goal was no upgrade either. Every touch carried nerves, reminding the fans how far United have fallen, even between the sticks. The worst part is how easy United are to work out. Opposition managers already speak openly about the blueprint. Overload their two midfielders with three, pin their wing-backs, and slip passes behind their centre-backs. Guardiola executed that plan with surgical precision. Doku got the ball in one-on-one situations, as if he had a VIP pass. Foden drifted between the lines unchecked, and Haaland just waited for the kill. Look back at the first goal, and it's all there. United had all 11 men behind the ball, yet a simple Rodri pass and a Doku dribble tore them apart. No coordinated press, no second line cover, no defensive discipline. It wasn't just one error, it was a collective collapse. Amorim wanted to be bold, but Guardiola treated him like a novice. He dismantled him piece by piece, exposed him on every blade of grass, and proved once more that this United are not only miles off competing, they are tactically naive to the point of comedy. In this match, beyond being exposed tactically, another worrying truth about Ruben Amorim came to light. As Manchester United boss, he has only won once against the Big Six. His footballing philosophy is not working. It has become painfully predictable, and something must change now. What's even more alarming is his own response in the press conference. He admitted he doesn't know when his team will improve. For the captain of a sinking ship to have no answers should set off every alarm at the very top of Manchester United. Let's break it down from a positive lens first. The only bright sparks at Manchester United right now are Bryan Mbeumo and, to some extent, Benjamin Šeško. Beyond that, everything looks grim. Bruno Fernandes, Dorgu and Ugarte delivered shocking performances, their level nowhere near that of Mbeumo and Šeško.
The midfield is a massive problem, and we've known that. United fans know that. Ugarte and Fernandes today, I think you mentioned it earlier, about an hour before the game, that Ugarte and Fernandes played in this fixture last year from start to finish, and United won the game. But Ugarte's not good enough. And Bruno's not a player who plays in a deep line midfield in a two. Particularly, he can do, I think, if United are at home and they're playing against a team where they're dominating possession, you can maybe bring him a bit deeper and get away with it. But against any team that have got good possession, good players, and that's most teams in the Premier League, Bruno is always going to probably struggle.
The lack of quality across the pitch is alarming. Every cross, every final ball, every half chance that could become an opportunity ends up wasted with poor decisions or misplaced passes. And when you face a rival like City, if you start the second half switched off and without a single burst of quality, you'll be punished in 15 minutes. That's exactly what happened. Haaland made it 2-0, then 3-0, and it could have been 4, 5, or even more. United's midfield simply did not exist. What's even more damning is the lack of structure in those key moments. On Foden's opening goal, United had 7 players inside the box against just 2 from City, yet somehow Foden still found acres of space to score. That is shocking. That is chillingly easy. How can a top-flight side be this vulnerable? And here's where Ruben Amorim must take responsibility. His tactical rigidity is killing this team. His system leaves no room for flexibility. It's either Mainu or Bruno, never both. That means United's midfield is always 2 men, never 3. So how does Pep Guardiola counter that? By simply adding an extra body. 3 versus 2 City instantly have numerical superiority, and from there they dominate. It's that simple. No matter what pair Amorim picks, Bruno with Ugarte, Casemiro with Mainu, Baleba with anyone, the structure is doomed to lose out because it's always a man short. In a Premier League derby, that is suicide. Amorim must adapt. No one is saying he has to be sacked tomorrow, but he must show more flexibility, read the opponent better, and bring in tactical variations beyond just swapping names in the same rigid system. Otherwise, the same problems will resurface, whether it's Baleba and Mainu or Casemiro and Bruno. Football is, at its core, a numbers game. Who places more men effectively in midfield? Who has better support? Who dictates the rhythm? City understood it, exploited it, and executed to perfection by compacting Rodri, Tijani Reinders, and Foden into that zone. From there, they owned the match. And the reality? Manchester United sit in 14th place, with just 4 points, fresh off a defeat against Arsenal, and now humiliated by City. It's a dark, dark picture at Old Trafford. Now we have to talk about the best striker on the planet.
Arne Slot described Alexander Isak as, to quote him, probably the best striker in the world. Where does that leave Erling?
A little bit above.
He's above.
Erling Haaland reminded everyone who really runs English football. 4 games into his 4th Premier League season, he has already written his name as the all-time top scorer in Manchester derbies. 8 goals against United in the league, 5 in just 4 matches this campaign, and a total of 10 in his last 5 games, if we add his international haul with Norway. Numbers that bend belief.
He is setting new standards. De Bruyne, Sergio Gomez, Haaland!
On a weekend where some were busy hyping Alexander Isak as the best striker in the league, Haaland made sure the world remembered that he is not even the best Scandinavian forward.
His goal scoring.
Listen, it's the same way I answered before. Isak is an exceptional player. You asked me what Erling is as a striker, so it's top. But of course, must be top player Isak because what they paid. So it's obviously.
While Isak watched from the bench, the Norwegian giant was dismantling United with a performance full of power, aggression, and the cold efficiency that has become his trademark. 2 goals, 2 finishes of pure brutality, and only the post stood between him and another derby hat-trick. What's remarkable is not just the volume, but the variety. Whether running in behind, bullying centre-backs, or finishing first-time chances with ruthless precision, Haaland continues to show he has every weapon a striker can possess. With 11 goal involvements in Manchester derbies, only Ryan Giggs with 13 has more, although that record came from 23 more games. And he now has 50 home goals from 50 Premier League appearances, with only Alan Shearer reaching the milestone quicker. And the next numbers are simply absurd. He has reached 90 Premier League goals in just 101 matches. For context, Didier Drogba, a striker considered one of the greatest in English football history, needed 186 games to reach the same milestone. Haaland is tearing down records that once seemed untouchable, reducing legends to mere reference points in his wake. This is something the Premier League has never seen before. His impact is seismic, his hunger unrelenting, and his dominance unquestionable. Erling Haaland is not just the most terrifying forward in the league today, he is on his way to becoming an eternal legend of world football. Pep had already said he wouldn't swap Erling Haaland for anyone, and once again, the Norwegian has answered him on the pitch. Jeremy Doku deserves a massive mention. His display was simply electric.
Do you know what I mean when I said earlier about there's not many players like you anymore?
Yeah, because nowadays it's more of a system, more tactical, and less and less players are creative and just do instinct. So now it's more tactic and more this and this and this than the beauty of the game. So the game has changed.
The way he stretches the pitch, his explosive bursts, and the unpredictability in his dribbling make him a nightmare for defenders. Add to that the connections he's building with Haaland and Reinders, and you can see Guardiola's system taking a whole new dimension. On the other side, Phil Foden is back to his best. The Golden Boy looks once again like the player capable of being the finest talent in the Premier League, dictating play, scoring and creating with ease.
Another big game against Spurs next Saturday. Trips to Everton and Arsenal, then their Champions League campaign resumes in Germany. They're due to go to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Here's Foden. Phil Foden! Oh, ho, ho!
Foden returned for his 321st appearance in a City shirt and, along with Erling Haaland, had more goals than any other player on the pitch in derbies at kickoff and took his total to 7 by the full-time whistle. The Stockport-born midfielder was joined in the starting umpteenth by Nico O'Reilly, who continues his impressive rise after making his debut against United in the Community Shield little more than 12 months ago. City also had 5 more players from the academy on the bench. James Trafford, Oscar Bobb and Rico Lewis have already featured for Guardiola's side this season, while teenagers Stephen Mfuni and Divine Mukasa joined them, underlining the depth and quality of City's production line. Together with Haaland, this attacking trio of Foden, Doku and the Norwegian powerhouse looks terrifying. It has all the firepower and dynamism needed to push City back to the very top of the league and to fight seriously for the Champions League again. And now we need to talk about Donnarumma. Gigi, take a bow. The Italian walked into the Etihad spotlight and left it with a statement. Making your Premier League debut is already daunting, but doing it in a Manchester derby is another level of pressure. He became only the 8th City player to debut in this fixture, and just the 3rd goalkeeper after Andreas Isaksson in 2006 and Claudio Bravo in 2008-2016. For anyone else, the weight of that history might have been heavy, but for Donnarumma this was just another stage. After all, he had already stood between the posts for AC Milan at the age of 16 and represented Italy at 17. Pressure is nothing new to him. Very early in the match, he announced himself with a sharp save from Benjamin Sesko, settling any nerves and showing United that this wasn't going to be their day. From then on, he looked calm and commanding, punching crosses, claiming high balls, and playing with composure at his feet. Yet the moment that truly defined his debut came just past the hour mark. Brian Mbeumo struck a vicious volley that looked destined for the corner, but Donnarumma sprang at full stretch, clawing the ball around the post with a save of pure class. It was the type of stop that lifts a crowd, deflates the opposition, and tells the whole league Manchester City have another giant between the sticks. Pep Guardiola didn't just win this derby from the touchline, he won it from the chalkboard. Manchester City lined up in a 4-3-3 built around possession, width and relentless pressing, and from the first whistle, the plan was executed with surgical precision.
Yeah, after winning 80 titles, I would change my plan, yeah, I'm pretty sure. After winning 4 Premier Leagues in a row, I'm going to change the way I believe the football my team is going to play. Never ever will change my beliefs in the way we're going to play. But if we're going up at the pitch, I want to attack quick. When the opponents make high pressing man-to-man and we break the first pressing, I want to attack quick. But after that, I love to pass the ball, 1,000 million boring passes. I love it.
The shape allowed City to suffocate the game, to stretch United's defensive lines through wide rotations and full-back winger combinations, and to turn Old Trafford's neighbours into little more than sparring partners. Ruben Amorim, by contrast, leaned on pragmatism. 5 at the back without the ball, banking on turnovers and quick transitions to surprise Guardiola's men. But against a side of this intelligence and control, that kind of reactive football collapsed under the weight of its own predictability. City defended from the front. Haaland, Foden and Doku pressed with synchronised intensity, forcing United to play into preset traps. Behind them, Rodri anchored the structure, dictating when to compress and when to recycle, while Dias and Gvardiol gave cover to aggressive fullbacks. The compactness between the lines strangled United's midfield. Every time Ugarte or Fernandes tried to turn, they were immediately swarmed, funneled into harmless wide zones where City's defensive net tightened around them. This wasn't just pressing, it was a tactical chokehold. The midfield was the battlefield where City broke United's spine. Rodri, Bernardo Silva and Tijani Reinders formed a triangle of control. Rodri dropped to receive, stabilising possession, while Reinders and Bernardo rotated fluidly, manipulating United's block and dictating tempo. Their passing map told the story. Dense central triangles, frequent switches to wingers, and overloads on United's left side, where Foden and Doku carved open space for Haaland's devastating runs. With 68% possession, City didn't just dominate the ball, they owned the rhythm of the derby. United's midfield pairing of Ugarte and Fernandes never stood stood a chance. Outnumbered, reactive, and constantly retreating, they couldn't connect defence to attack. When they tried to break forward, it was almost exclusively through Fernandes's industry. But even his 12 chances created were born in isolation, against a tide of blue shirts. It was a lesson in numerical superiority. As we said before, Pep placed 3 against 2, and from there the outcome was inevitable. Attacking patterns revealed the full depth of Guardiola's plan. City overloaded the left with Doku, Foden, and young O'Reilly, creating repeated 3v2s and drawing United's back 5 out of shape. They worked the ball wide, then snapped play central with one-touch combinations, and when the spaces opened, they didn't hesitate to exploit them with cutbacks and crosses. Foden's opener was a textbook example of timing and spacing, while Haaland's brace underlined his ability to punish even half chances with ruthless efficiency. But the real key was pressing and transitions. Pep's men hunted in packs, forcing turnovers high and instantly counter-pressing when they lost possession. United never had a second to breathe, let alone build sustained attacks. Every attempted outball to Sesko or Mbeumo was swallowed up by Rodri and company, and when the ball broke loose, City swarmed like sharks, sensing blood. Individual duels painted the wider picture. Haaland bullied De Ligt and Euro, his runs carving space where none existed. Doku and Foden terrorised United's right. Mazraoui constantly dragged into uncomfortable positions. Fernandes battled valiantly against Rodri but was smothered, his influence reduced to flickers. Only Mbeumo managed to trouble City with his pace, but even his best effort was denied by Donnarumma's spectacular debut. Even on set pieces, City imposed themselves. They worked short routines to destabilise United's zonal shape, targeted Diaz and Haaland aerially, and pressed immediately after clearances, turning dead ball moments into extended waves of pressure. In the end, this was more than just a derby victory. It was a tactical autopsy. Guardiola exposed Amorim's rigidity, turned United's weaknesses into open wounds, and showcased once again why City are not just a lethal team by talent, but by design. This was football played with authority, artistry, and cold precision, a reminder that in Manchester, there is still only one side writing the tactical gospel. Manchester is no longer divided, it is dominated. This derby left Amorim's United in ruins and Guardiola's City with their chests out. For Amorim, the future looks uncertain. Chelsea at Old Trafford is next, followed by the international break, and failure to deliver could ignite serious consequences. His ideas look stale, his system exposed, and the pressure is building like never before. United are sinking, with no clear sign of recovery, and the captain of the ship admits he has no answers. On the other side, Guardiola has City marching again. With Haaland lethal, Doku electric, and Foden reborn, the citizens look terrifyingly consistent. Their focus now shifts to the Champions League, where Pep will demand the same dominance. If this level of control is sustained, City are not just favourites for England, they're once again Europe's nightmare. The derby was brutal proof. One side is broken, the other unstoppable.